They woke the world to their magic, and their wizardry transcends time. Many have passed on, but their heroics live forever. On football's greatest stage, the gods of the game have earned their encore. Pelé, Beckenbauer, Cruyff, Maradona. Revered today by generations unborn when they weaved their spell. In the streets of South America, up laneways throughout Europe, on the dirt roads of any African village, the deeds of the past inspire the players of tomorrow. It's the cup of hope, the cup of dreams. It's football's biggest prize on the greatest stage of all. If sport was only for the big, fit and strong, it would be so boringly predictable. It's the ones who didn't fit the mould, the ones who defy expectation, who give the contest its dimension. That's why Gerd Müller is a name to celebrate. A West German star of the 70s, Muller had one of football's most unflattering nicknames. Known as Short, Fat Muller by his first Bayern Munich coach, Zlatko Tchaikovsky. The first time Tchaikovsky set eyes on the 176-centimetre, 90-kilogram frame of his new recruit, he muttered, "What am I supposed to do with a weightlifter?" But when he saw how Muller's chunky thighs carried him quickly to the ball, how his low centre of gravity helped him keep his feet in heavy traffic, and how his barrel chest proudly puffed with goal after goal, Tchaikovsky and Bayern Munich fans settled on a new nickname, Der Bomber. Muller was a statistician's delight. At Bayern, he scored 365 goals in 427 Bundesliga matches, a league record by more than 100 goals. In all competitions for Bayern, 525 goals in 573 games is not just a club record. It's more than double the next best, the great Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. Usually, the great club strikers have a slightly lower strike rate at international level. Not Der Bomber. His 62 caps for West Germany produced 68 goals. And they came in some of the biggest, most important matches imaginable. Gerd Müller was a little man for the big occasion. His World Cup heroics on football's greatest stage after the break. When West Germany was beaten by England 4-2 in the 1966 World Cup final, the Germans knew deep down that the better team had won. Skipper and striker Uwe Seeler was in his 30s, so they began looking for a restructure for their front half. In late 1967, they plucked a 20-year-old from Bayern Munich, Gerd Müller. And by the time the next World Cup came around, he was already on his way to rewriting the record books. Muller had been playing in the 5th tier of German football when he came to the attention of Bayern Munich in 1964. Not that he was hard to spot. 51 goals in 31 games for TSV 1861 Nordlingen was a dead giveaway that he was destined for bigger things. but no one could have predicted how big. Every time the bar was raised on Muller, he cleared it. 6 goals in just 3 appearances in the 1968 Euro. 9 goals in 6 qualifying games for the 1970 World Cup. And at the World Cup, 10 goals in 6 games. Still the last time any player has hit double figures in the tournament. 2 of those goals came in the semi-final against Italy. But it wasn't enough, as the Germans were knocked out 4-3. 2 years later, at Euro 1972, he scored twice in the semi-final and twice in the final as West Germany claimed the trophy. And back at Bayern, the honours kept on coming. This fiery encounter against Leeds, one of 3 European Cup victories, naturally with a Muller goal. Muller's last international match for Germany was the 1974 World Cup final on home soil in Munich. And who scored the winning goal? Of course, it was De Bomber, breaking the deadlock for a 2-1 victory. His 4 goals for the tournament paled in number against 1970, but these 4 came with the trophy. Muller's 14 goals in his 2 World Cups set a new record, which Ronaldo and later Miroslav Klose would need 4 World Cup tournaments to break. Muller's retirement from international football at just 28 was sudden, and stemmed partly from his anger at the West German players' wives being excluded from the celebratory banquet. He continued piling on the goals for Bayern for another 4 years, before bolstering his superannuation with 3 seasons for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers in the US. Muller's post-playing days were plagued by alcoholism, and in 2015 it was announced he was suffering from Alzheimer's disease, prompting a flood of tributes from his former teammates.
I said it for 5, 10, 20 years when anyone asks me who is the most important player in Bayern Munich's history. I've always said Gerd, always Gerd.
Muller's early departure from the West German team hurt the nation. Without him, the next World Cup in 1978 would be the only time, apart from 1938, that Germany did not reach the knockout phase of a World Cup tournament. But at least he didn't hurt his remarkable strike rate by playing on past his peak. Of all the players who have played more than 50 international matches, only 2 have ever had a strike rate of better than 1 goal a game. Hungary's Sándor Kocsis with 75 in 68 games, and Muller. Kocsis, who played in Hungary's losing 1954 Cup final, had a strike rate of 1.102, fractionally beating Muller's 1.096. But add a World Cup to the strike rate, and short, squat Gerd Müller has a compelling case as the deadliest striker on football's greatest stage. When famed Italian coach Marcello Lippi prepared his men to face France on football's greatest stage in 2006, he knew that past demons posed a bigger threat to the Azzurri than their highly fancied opponents. If Italy was to break a 24-year hoodoo against Le Bleu, he would have to protect their headspace. Big game blunders had come against France in the '86 World Cup, the '98 World Cup, and 2000 UEFA European Championship. But with a culture of success from his time as manager of Serie A giant Juventus, Lippi wouldn't consider failure. France beat us in '98 on penalties. Then they beat us in the European Championship final. This time, it's our time. This time, we're going to win. Lippi's coaching philosophy had always had an emphasis on team spirit and team unity. His handling of Italy's most loved player, Francesco Totti, racing to get fit for the World Cup after breaking his leg just 4 months earlier, was lauded.
Totti sta abbastanza bene.
Totti is in a pretty good condition. We can be optimistic. His enthusiasm and the effort he is putting into his recovery is amazing. We all are there with him. Now comes the difficult part for him, because he will have to play against a team that will not have any regard for him. We are satisfied, however, and his condition is encouraging.
2 wins from 3 in the group stages saw the Azzurri progress. A get-out-of-jail victory against Australia in the round of 16, before polished performances against Ukraine and Germany booked Italy's place in the decider. Lippi's tactical nous allowed Totti and Andrea Pirlo to flourish in harmony. And his defence, led by Ballon d'Or winning captain Fabio Cannavaro, only conceded 2 goals for the entire tournament. Both were penalties. The second of them was the first goal of the final. Zinedine Zidane getting past Italy's heroic goalkeeper, Gianluigi Buffon, before Marco Materazzi levelled after 19 minutes. Much later, the 2 goal scorers will be involved in one of the most sensational World Cup incidents ever, with Zidane's headbutt. That astonishing lapse, along with Buffon's late save of a Zidane header in extra time, and the perfect 5 out of 5 penalties by Italy in the shootout, confirmed Lippi's belief that the World Cup will be won above the shoulders. 3 days later, after unheralded celebrations, Lippi stunned Italy by deciding to quit while he was ahead. But when the Azzurri was eliminated from Euro 2008 in the quarter-final, his replacement, Roberto Donadoni, was sacked and Lippi agreed to come back. It was a mistake. At the World Cup in 2010, Italy failed to win a match and he quit again. The criticism was that too many of the 2006 winners have been rewarded with a spot ahead of emerging youngsters like Mario Balotelli. But Marcello Lippi had made a life out of loyalty and team unity and wasn't about to change. He exited football's greatest stage with no regrets. As we go to the break, speed is the essence. We're talking about the fastest goal in World Cup history. 10.8 seconds from kick-off to the back of the net. But do you know who scored it? The answer after the break when we look at the 2010 World Cup won by Spain. Though that's only half the story. Welcome back, and the mantle of the fastest gun at the World Cup would sit easily with one of these golden foot legends. The fastest ever World Cup goal came in the 2002 third-place playoff between surprise semi-finalist Turkey and co-host South Korea. Scored by Turkish captain Hakan Suker. Suker seized on a blunder by the South Korean defence to hammer home the most important of his 51 goals for his nation in just 11 seconds. 10.8 to be precise. With 112 appearances, he is the second most capped player for Turkey and more than double any other goalscorer. Nicknamed the Ball of the Bosphorus, Suker was a star for Galatasaray, the second highest goalscorer in their history, winning 8 league titles and the 1999-2000 UEFA Cup. In 2014, he was named a Golden Foot Legend.
The Football Legend Award is given to Hakan Sukur.
When I played for the national team at the World Cup, I scored a goal in 11 seconds. I like to bring this up.
Sei stato velocissimo, diciamo, il gol più veloce di tutta la storia.
It was important because it was a gift of God. I didn't score goals in 3 games, but in the last one I scored in 11 seconds. It was a great gift.
Only 11 seconds, but on football's greatest stage, that's long enough to last a lifetime. From the first blast of a vuvuzela to the last yellow card in a fiery final, the 2010 World Cup was a stirring, controversial, noisy and colourful event, and one that in so many ways changed the face of football. To this day, there are divisions over whether the first World Cup on the African continent was a success, and the scandal over the corrupted bid process, which delivered the tournament to South Africa, continues to dog the game. And yet FIFA rightly remains proud that a World Cup has been safely and successfully held on the most economically challenged continent. Under then Chairman Sepp Blatter, FIFA pushed through a controversial and short-lived rotation policy, which enabled only African countries to bid for the 2010 Cup and only South American countries to bid for 2014. After an unsuccessful bid in 2006, South Africa won on the first vote, getting 14 votes to Morocco's 10, and third candidate Egypt receiving no votes.
We trust South Africa, we trust Africa to organize such a big competition.
32 nations played the group rounds in 10 stadiums in 9 host cities. The tournament marked by several controversies and quirks. France had its worst ever World Cup, a dramatic row between striker Nicolas Anelka and coach Raymond Domenech, with Anelka being expelled from the team, in turn leading to the players boycotting training before the final match against South Africa. The French finished bottom of their group, South Africa also just missing advancement, the first host nation to be eliminated at the group stage. Ghana was the only African nation to progress, and with a 93rd minute goal from Asamoah Gyan, advanced to the quarterfinals for a clash with Uruguay. Their bid to become the first African nation to reach a World Cup semi-final was foiled when just before the end of extra time, Luis Suarez deliberately used his hand to prevent a certain Ghana goal. Asamoah Gyan will be haunted for life after he missed the subsequent penalty kick and the match went to a shootout won 4-2 by Uruguay. Suarez roundly condemned for unsporting behaviour in a prelude to an even more controversial 2014. Another match in the round of 16 would be ultimately responsible for the introduction of goal line technology. In England's dismal 4-1 defeat at the hands of Germany, the worst World Cup defeat ever for the Three Lions. A shot by Frank Lampard hit the crossbar, and photos clearly showed it then crossed the goal line. Blatter was vocal in the need for the use of goal line technology in the future. And while no one disagreed, the Germans privately felt justice had been done all those years after the 1966 incident, when Geoff Hurst's second goal in the World Cup final would have been disallowed under today's technology. The World Cup was also in many ways the opportunity for the world to farewell the ailing giant of Africa, Nelson Mandela. Too ill to make many public appearances, he instead received visitors like the Ghana team.
I'm very happy to meet a great man like President Mandela. You know, I was there with him, shake his hands, you know. I'm so happy to meet him face to face.
Mandela's appearance at the closing ceremony on a motor cart was one of the highlights of the tournament, upstaging even Shakira. The final between Spain and Netherlands set a record of 14 yellow cards, smashing the old record of just 6. Spain's 1-0 victory coming with an Andres Iniesta goal in the 116th minute. That, though, is another story for another time on football's greatest stage. Not every World Cup hero is a great player. Not everyone who covets the trophy has noble intentions. So here's a tale with a difference. The story of Pickles, the dog who saved the World Cup. Back in 1966, all of England was pinning hopes on two bobbies to win the World Cup on home soil. Captain Bobby Moore and star midfielder Bobby Charlton. But a few months before the tournament, the precious Jules Rimet trophy was entrusted to a couple of other bobbies. London police officers guarding the prize in its glass cabinet at a Westminster exhibition. Under their noses, the trophy was stolen. The empty cabinet a symbol of embarrassment for the England Football Association and a source of anger from FIFA President Sir Stanley Rouse.
How deplorable that such a trophy should be stolen, that anyone should be mean enough to pinch it.
Soon after, FA Chairman Joe Mears received a ransom demand of £15,000 for the safe return of the Jules Rimet, and Scotland Yard set up a sting. But in another bungled operation, the man who made the ransom demand, Edward Betchley, was captured, but the trophy was not recovered. Days later, after an unsuccessful national hunt for the trophy, enter our hero, Pickles, a 4-year-old crossbreed out for his nightly walk with his owner David Corbett in Upper Norwood. As seen in this dramatic reenactment, Pickles sniffed out a parcel wrapped in newspaper under a bush in Upper Norwood. Corbett instantly recognised it as the missing trophy. With the villain collared and the mystery licked, Pickles was hailed a national hero, receiving a police medal and a special invitation to the official tournament dinner. And when it was England who won the World Cup, well, Pickles became a national celebrity. He even got an agent, the same agent as Spike Milligan, and he secured a movie deal, starring as himself in The Spy with the Cold Nose. Tragically, like many celebrities, Pickles had a reckless streak, and just a year later, he was killed in a freak accident. At least he went out like a true action hero, strangled on his own lead while chasing a cat up a tree. A true story, stranger than fiction, on football's greatest stage. Still to come, Gerd Titan, the only goalkeeper to win the World Cup Golden Ball. The World Cup Golden Ball. It goes to the best player on football's greatest stage, the Academy Award for Excellence. The domain of strikers and attacking midfielders. It's only ever been won once by a goalkeeper, Oliver Kahn. Nicknamed the Titan, his formidable presence provided the nucleus for his teams. Kahn inspired and orchestrated many marvellous performances. He followed in the footsteps of his father, Rolf, joining Karlsruhe at the age of 6, and set about creating his own legacy. Debuting for the senior side in the Bundesliga in 1987, he was poached by Bayern Munich in 1994, winning 8 league titles, a Champions League, UEFA Cup, and numerous other honours. It was the 2001 Champions League final victory over Valencia, where he saved 3 penalties in the deciding shootout that will go down as one of his finest performances. And his consoling of opposition keeper Santiago Canizares, a signature moment on an epic night in Milan. Kahn himself would need consoling at the end of the 2002 World Cup. Though he would win the tournament's highest individual honour, his team would leave Japan without the cup. The Titan was monstrous, keeping 5 clean sheets, conceding just 1 goal in the lead-up to the decider against Brazil. But his enduring moment unfair given the majesty of his performances, was an error which allowed Brazil's Ronaldo to score the first goal and ultimately lead Brazil to victory. "There is no consolation," he said. "It was the only mistake I made in 7 matches, and it was brutally punished." Despite his blunder, Kahn won the Golden Ball for Player of the Tournament, as well as the Lev Yashin Award for Best Keeper. He made the World Cup All-Star team and also finished 3rd in the Ballon d'Or for the 2nd straight year. The last of his 86 caps for Germany was on football's greatest stage in 2006. The Germans finishing 3rd on home soil. A bittersweet farewell to a true titan of the game.